There's a moment that almost everyone experiences, but very few people talk about honestly. It usually happens late at night, when the world becomes quiet and your thoughts become louder than everything else. You look at your life, at your dreams, at the person you wanted to become, and a question quietly appears in your mind. Am I wasting my potential? That question hurts because deep down, most people already know the answer. Not because they're lazy, not because they are incapable, but because somewhere along the way they stopped believing that their small daily actions actually mattered. They started waiting for motivation before taking action. They started comparing their beginning to someone else's success story. They started thinking successful people were somehow different, gifted, lucky, special. But the truth is, most successful people are not extraordinary. They simply learned how to keep moving when nobody was clapping for them. Think about that for a second. Nobody sees the difficult mornings. Nobody sees the days when you study while your friends are relaxing. Nobody sees the moments when you fail quietly and still choose to try again. The world only notices the result. But your future is not built in the spotlight. It is built in private. A young student once asked a teacher, "What is the difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck?" The teacher didn't answer immediately. Instead, he handed the student 2 seeds. He told him to place one seed in fertile soil and water it every day. The other seed he told him to leave on a shelf by the window. Weeks passed. The seed in the soil slowly became a small plant. The seed on the shelf stayed exactly the same. The student said, "Of course the plant grew. It was given attention." And the teacher smiled and replied, "Exactly. Human potential works the same way." Most people carry their dreams like seeds left on a shelf. They keep talking about what they could become, but they never create the environment for growth. They want confidence without practice. They want success without discipline. They want change without discomfort. But growth has always required effort. A stronger body requires training. A stronger mind requires learning. A stronger future requires sacrifice. And the difficult part is that growth feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. When you first start learning something new, you feel slow. When you first start improving your habits, you feel resistance. When you first start chasing a dream, you feel uncertainty. That discomfort tricks many people into quitting. They think struggle means they are not meant for it. But struggle is often proof that you are evolving. A person lifting weights for the first time shakes because their muscles are adapting. A student studying difficult subjects feels frustrated because their brain is expanding. A person trying to rebuild their life feels exhausted because change demands energy. The pain is not always a sign to stop. Sometimes it is a sign that you are finally moving forward. And this is important to understand because modern life constantly encourages distraction. Every day, people are surrounded by entertainment, comparison, noise, and endless scrolling. Hours disappear without meaning. Dreams slowly become delayed plans. Then delayed plans become regrets. Years later, many people look back and wonder where all the time went. But time never disappeared. It was traded for comfort, traded for excuses, traded for temporary pleasure instead of long-term purpose. And the scary thing about wasted time is that it rarely feels dangerous in the moment. One lazy day feels harmless, one excuse feels small, one distraction feels normal. But a life is built from repeated days, not single moments. Your habits are quietly creating your future every day. If someone reads for 1 hour every day, imagine who they become after 5 years. If someone practices a skill every day, imagine how valuable they become after 10 years. If someone consistently chooses discipline over excuses, imagine the confidence they build over time. Most transformation is invisible at first. That's why people quit too early. A person goes to the gym for 2 weeks and sees no results, so they stop. A student studies for 1 month and expects immediate success, so they lose motivation. Someone starts a business, a project, or a creative dream, and because the world doesn't instantly reward them, they assume they failed. But real growth is delayed. A tree spends years building roots before it becomes tall enough for people to admire it. Your life is no different. You are not behind because your progress is slow. You are behind only if you stop completely. And maybe right now, you feel tired. Maybe you feel uncertain about your future. Maybe you've made mistakes that still follow you around in your mind. Maybe people underestimated you. Maybe you even underestimated yourself. But your past is not a life sentence. One of the most dangerous beliefs a person can have is the idea that they are permanently defined by who they used to be. A bad grade does not define your intelligence. Failure does not define your worth. A difficult childhood does not define your future. Your current situation is not your final identity. Human beings are capable of change in incredible ways. History is full of people who started late, failed repeatedly, struggled privately, and still transformed their lives because they refused to surrender their future to their circumstances. And often, the biggest transformation begins with something small. Waking up earlier, reading instead of scrolling, studying for 1 extra hour, choosing consistency over mood, saying no to distractions, believing that your future deserves effort even when results are not immediate. Small actions repeated daily become powerful. People often search for one giant moment that changes everything, but life rarely works that way. Most success stories are simply ordinary people making difficult choices consistently for a long time. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional, discipline is commitment. Motivation disappears when life becomes difficult. Discipline continues anyway. There will be mornings when you do not feel like working, days when progress feels invisible, moments when self-doubt becomes loud. But if your actions depend only on emotion, your future becomes unstable. The people who change their lives are usually the ones who learn to act even when they don't feel inspired. And education plays a bigger role in this than many people realize. Education is not only about exams or degrees. Real education changes the way you think. It teaches you how to solve problems, how to understand the world, how to communicate, how to grow. When you learn consistently, you become harder to manipulate, harder to control, more capable of creating opportunities for yourself and others. Knowledge creates freedom, and the beautiful thing is that we live in a time where learning is more accessible than ever before. A person with curiosity, discipline, and internet access can learn skills that once required expensive institutions. You can study languages, business, design, technology, psychology, communication, finance, and countless other subjects from your own room, but information alone changes nothing. Applied knowledge changes lives. You do not become confident by watching motivational videos. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself repeatedly. You do not become successful by dreaming. You become successful by acting consistently even when nobody is watching. And maybe the most important lesson of all is this: you do not need to become perfect to become better. Perfection destroys progress because it makes people afraid to start. Some people never chase their dream because they are waiting for the perfect plan. Some never create because they fear judgment. Some never improve because they cannot accept being beginners. But every skilled person was once unskilled. Every confident speaker was once nervous. Every successful student once struggled to understand something simple. Nobody begins as the final version of themselves. Growth is a process of becoming. So if your life feels messy right now, that does not mean your story is over. If you feel lost, that does not mean you are incapable of finding direction. Sometimes people are simply in the middle of becoming someone stronger. And one day, if you continue moving forward, you will look back at the version of yourself that almost gave up. You will remember the nights of doubt, the slow progress, the silent effort that nobody noticed, and you will realize something powerful. The person you needed to become was created during those difficult moments. Not during comfort, not during easy victories, but during the days you kept going despite uncertainty. So stop waiting for permission to believe in yourself. Stop assuming your future belongs to someone more talented or more lucky. Stop treating your potential like a small thing. Your life can change slowly, quietly, and completely through the choices you make every day. Start learning, start building, start improving, start now, even if the beginning is imperfect. Because years from today, the pain of discipline will feel small compared to the pain of regret. And the future you dream about is not created someday. It is created by what you choose to do today.